All right, so today we're going to be talking to Lauren, who is one of our success stories that we had from our private Facebook group. And I can't claim her success. She coached with Coach Anna, so I think Anna kind of rightfully gets some credit. But Lauren's the one who did most of the work. So basically, we're just going to be sitting down with her and talking to her about what she did that was successful in getting her ex back. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm good.
So take me back to the beginning, back before the breakup or as the breakup's happening. Just sort of let's walk through your situation.
Okay. So like right before the breakup, he moved back from Nashville. He was doing an internship there. Um, so we had a long distance relationship for about a year. He moved back to be with me and his family. And So right when that happened, his dad dropped the news on him, like, "Hey, I'm getting married, and
So
I'm
his
going
dad
to
was
be."
was single at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he said, "I'm getting married and I'm going to be moving out in October." Um, they they lived together.
Okay.
Um,
So your boyfriend is basically like getting kicked out. Is that kind of the
yeah.
okay?
Mhm. Yeah, he had, his dad gave him until, May of this year to either buy the house or he would have to find an apartment.
How
Um,
old is your boyfriend at this time?
he's 25.
Okay, so at 25, being told that you have to buy a house or get your own apartment, it's kind of a
I
big,
know.
yeah, that's kind of a lot for a 25-year-old kid.
Yeah. And so that really stressed him out. Um, and he took a job that he didn't really like, and it was burning him out, and just all of like the news of his dad leaving and not liking his job, and that like stressed him out so much that he kind of fell into a depression. Like he kept telling me how like, "Oh, I'm so depressed, I don't even know who I am anymore, I don't know what to do." Until like one day it all came to a head, and like he came home from work and he felt like a different person.
Hmm.
um
So when he would say these things to you, were you still long distance, or was he close by?
he was close by. He lived about 30 minutes away from me.
Okay. So when he would say these things to you, like I'm depressed or I'm sad, what was your typical response to that?
I was really supportive and understanding. I was like, "We can get through this together. I can help. um I can help you either buy the house, or we can move into an apartment together." Um,
Nice.
yeah,
So you were basically being like the perfect girlfriend to him.
yeah.
And I'm assuming that kind of made him push you away a little bit further.
It seems so, yeah.
Okay, so how does this breakup go down? Like you've set the stage of like, okay, he's really sad and depressed because of his dad and all this pressure that's he's putting on himself, but also the dad's putting on him. You're being seemingly perfect, but it seems like he's got some sort of avoidant tendencies, so he's kind of
Mhm.
avoiding that. When does it come to
Yeah,
a head?
yeah, he came home from work one night and, I was there, and I, had made him dinner, and
Wow, you're being
he
awesome. And he
yeah.
broke up with you after you made him dinner?
I know,
That's
yeah.
cold.
Ah,
Did he
yes.
eat the dinner first before he broke up with you?
Well, we ate dinner and, he was being really distant, and,
Oh, so you're like, "Hey, what's up? What's wrong?" You can tell something's
yeah.
up.
Yeah, we actually, like, went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and he had to go to work. So I went home and I just had this terrible feeling. So I asked him like, "Hey, are we okay? I feel
So
weird."
your intuition kicked in.
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay. So you basically force the issue to him. You say, "Are we okay?" And I'm assuming you did
Mhm.
not get a favorable answer to that.
No. He, like, wrote me a novel after that,
Text? A
just
text novel?
yes,
Oh my
he
god.
texted me, he broke up with me over text.
Okay.
Um,
What did it say? Basically, can you don't have to go through the whole thing, but just give us the gist.
yeah. So the gist was he was like he just reiterated everything. He's like, "I'm so stressed out. I'm so burnt out. I don't know who I am anymore. I still love you, but it feels different." Just like a really, really long way of saying it's not you, it's me.
Okay. Well,
So,
to me, it sounds a lot like the avoidant tendencies. Like typically speaking, with avoidance, anytime they feel like their independence is getting threatened, they
mhm.
tend to like blow things up or go
Yeah.
away. And I'm wondering, were you at and this is like where I'm getting off topic here, so you'll have to probably steer me back on. But I'm wondering, like at the time, right around this breakup, were you really pushing like? Because I think in your mind, you're like, hey, let's work together, we can fix this
Mhm.
together, we're a team, let's get our own apartment together. Were you kind of pushing that route a lot?
Yeah,
Okay.
I, was communicating with him like, "Hey, I really want to like, I know you wanna buy the house, so let's
Do
do
it
that," and,
together.
yeah, so I was, like, wanting to, like, redecorate and stuff, and,
Nice. So, I
so
mean, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm just trying to look at it from his perspective of why he would
mhm,
all of us. It's like kind of does seem a little out of the blue. I mean, not technically, but like
yeah.
you seem like you're hitting all the right notes as a girlfriend. So what the heck is up? Well,
I know.
I think it's because he started to feel like that independence is getting taken away from him.
Yeah,
Obviously, you break up, right? There's a
mhm.
breakup text that goes down. What's your first reaction?
Um, my first reaction, I remembered the program, like, as this was happening.
So you didn't try to
Um,
like call and beg for him back or anything like that?
no, I was, like I was really
Oh, that's amazing.
understanding and yeah. Yeah, I didn't nag or anything or
Wow, that's
beg.
amazing. That's really good.
Mhm.
That's a great starting point. So you remember the program. You said before we had started recording that you had used this program a couple of years ago
Mhm.
for someone else, like 4 years ago or something like that, and you kind of get back into it and you realize things have changed a little bit
Mhm.
in how we operate since then.
Yeah.
So did you buy the program, like the new version?
Yeah, I bought the new version of it.
And then you get into the Facebook group and then
Mhm.
eventually, well, I don't want to skip ahead because I know you got in with Coach Anna, but you started a no contact rule, at least in your write up in the Facebook group for your
Yeah.
success story write up. You said it was a 45-day no contact rule. Is there what was the thinking behind doing the 45-day rule?
Well, I took the assessment, and since there was kind of like a mental health issue there, I chose 45 days.
Yeah. It was so what's interesting just between you and me, Lauren, I've noticed a lot more people who have longer periods of no contact are ending up in these success stories.
Mhm.
So I kind of think that's an important thing that we need to start
Yeah.
reiterating more. But most people don't want to hear that because no contact
Mhm.
is hard to get through. Did you fail no contact at all when you tried it?
Yes, I failed it 3 days in.
Okay. That's pretty
Um,
common. That's very
yeah.
common.
Yeah,
Why did you what happened to make that occur?
well, well, I was pretty emotional. So I deleted all of our pictures on Instagram, and then I noticed that he unfollowed me, and so I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" So I texted him. I was like, "I'm so sorry for deleting all of our pictures." He's
That's
like, "I
great.
don't resent you or anything."
And how did he respond to that, or was it just kinda nothing?
Yeah, he responded immediately and he was like, "Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm fine," and, stuff like that.
So you've got a long trek ahead of you, 45 days. How did you spend that
Mhm.
time?
Well, I immediately went into therapy,
Okay.
because I didn't
That's a
wanna
great
deal.
decision.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't wanna deal with the breakup by myself, and I felt like I needed somebody to talk to, like, especially a professional. Um, yeah, therapy, I started, working out and doing yoga and, yeah.
So mostly you're working kind of the therapy angle, you're working the physical angle. What about, because I'm kind of like hitting at the Trinity concept.
Yeah.
What about work wise? Because uh, correct me if I'm wrong, this breakup occurred in December 2020, right?
Yes.
So this is going on during the height of the pandemic, or I mean, I guess we're still in the height of the pandemic technically,
Mhm.
but um did how was your career type prospects at this time? Did you make any headway on that during the no contact period?
Um, well, right as the breakup happened, it was the off season. I
Okay.
w I work in a country club, so, the golf season had just ended, so I wasn't working. Um,
So you get
so
extra
yeah.
time to kind of sit and stew in your thoughts,
Yes.
essentially.
Mhm.
But you seem to handle it really well. So the question, I guess, the most pressing question I guess I would ask is, you eventually, towards, you said towards the end of no contact, you ended up booking a session with Anna, and you started
Mhm.
working on like preparing exactly how you're going to be talking to your ex. what
Yes.
what were some of the big insights you got from that session?
Um, well, I really, like, blamed myself for the breakup. Like, I thought it was my fault, but, Anna, like, really helped me, like, talked me through it and, like, made me realize that it wasn't my fault, and, like, um, one of, the things that she told me was, like, "He didn't have to break up with you, he broke up with you because he was sad, like, you did nothing wrong."
Mhm. Well, I mean, just basically when you were explaining it to me, it sounded like you were being a pretty good girlfriend. You
Mhm,
know, you were supportive, you were willing to like forego your own happiness or comfortability to try to get into an, I don't know what your financial situation is, but it seems like you were willing to put your whole heart into the thing, and he just kind
mhm,
of ran away. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's funny. So by the end of no contact, had you gotten over that belief that the breakup was your fault?
mhm. Yeah, my therapist really helped with that too.
So you're talking, and I think this is a really good indicator for people who are struggling. Sometimes it is good to talk to a professional
Mhm,
because there's a lot of self-doubt and blame that goes on
mhm.
after a
Oh,
breakup,
yeah.
even when it's not your fault. So let's get to the fun stuff.
Mhm.
How did you get him back after the no contact rule? What was your approach?
Okay, so, I ended the no contact, and I sent my first text out, and it was, about his interests, like, he likes video games and music and stuff like that. So, the texting phase was basically about that. And I got really positive results. He texted back immediately, and
So you basically
um,
kept it based on his interests,
yeah. Mm.
which
And
are
then
video games. So you
video
you did
games,
you
yeah.
know anything about video games when you texted him?
Mhm.
You
Yeah, I
did?
did.
So did you
Mhm.
like play video games with him?
Um, no, we never got around to that because we're both very busy, but yeah.
So what like can you give us an example of like a video game text that you used? I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly, but just give
Okay.
people like kind of a frame of reference.
Yeah, so, we at the breakup, it was right before Christmas, so we exchanged, Christmas gifts, and he got me, a video game controller. Um, so,
What was you can't leave me hanging. What for what system?
PS4, but
Okay.
I hooked it up to, my PC.
Okay, so you kind of found a way to hook it up to your computer.
Mhm. Yeah, so, my text was, I said, "Guess what I just did?" And he was like, What did you do?" And, so I sent him a picture of
Nice. That's a
the,
great, yeah.
controller, and I was like, "I just set up your Christmas present for me." And yeah, we just, went from there.
So did a full-blown conversation occur, or was it just kind of like a quick back and forth and then the conversation ended after you sent that
Um,
text?
yeah, it was, a quick back and forth. I asked him, like, for what video games should I play, like, over Steam? And, he gave me his Steam password,
So you get them for
even,
free.
and yeah, yeah, so I had access to all the games that he,
That's a big
was
deal that he
playing,
gave you
and
the Steam password though.
mhm,
You know,
yeah,
because it kind of like connects him further in. But I noticed in your write-up, you said you were texting him for like 2.5 months,
mhm,
building that value
yeah,
up. Can you take us a little bit through your experience, or at least your like how you approached it for anyone? Because I think the texting in that building value phase is maybe harder than no contact in and of itself.
yeah,
So
it was,
yeah, yeah. So go ahead.
yeah, yeah, it was really hard. It was really nerve-wracking too. Looking back, I don't know why it was so nerve-wracking, but, yeah, I guess I didn't feel worthy of getting him back for some reason, but, I was working on that with my therapist. Um, yeah, so when it got too much for me, I would take, like, a mini no contact of, like, 2 weeks just to get emotional control again and, like, hop right back into it.
So the for you, you think the key was like getting that emotional control and like
Mhm.
having it throughout the entire. But as far as like the actual conversations go, how did you ever have any trouble like getting into conversations with him? Was there ever a time where you would text and he wouldn't respond, or situations like that?
No, he would always, respond immediately, like, so I would use hooks, like, very early on, but then, after, my session with, Coach Anna, she said, "If you are 95% positive he's going to respond, you don't have to use a hook."
Right.
So, yeah, it was just, like, I would just text him and be like, "Hey, what's up? How are you doing?"
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you actually had someone who's very engaged. The fact that they're willing
Mhm.
to just sort of like get into conversations. What were the types of conversations that you were having with him?
Um, I would, like, always bring up a topic of interest first, like, he has he's a musician, so he has a couple of, music projects that he's working on. So I would be like, "Hey, how's the album coming?" or something like that.
And would he always be super engaged after
Mhm,
after okay.
yeah.
Was there ever a time that he took the initiative and asked you about something that he wasn't interested in, but you were interested in?
Um, there there was, a few times that he actually reached out to me first. Like, for example, he told me, like, "Hey, here's a place that you can get your COVID vaccine."
Okay. Right. So
Yeah.
okay, that's kind of important.
Mhm.
Um, I guess that's technically not something that you're like gung ho, like if you're like a
Yeah.
ballet person, but hey, it shows that he cares,
Oh, yeah.
which in and of itself is probably the point.
Mhm.
At what point do you start moving or building up enough value or feeling like you've got enough value built up with him that you advance to kind of that meetup phase?
Um, let's see. I let's see, like, right at the end of, the, like, 2.5 months of, um, the texting phase, I was like, "I don't wanna do this anymore." I
So
was like,
had he ever suggested a meetup before, or were you the one that had to suggest the meetup?
I suggested a while back, I had actually got a puppy, I adopted a new puppy,
Okay.
um,
So that's
and
like an
I
instant, like, come see the puppy type thing.
yeah, yeah, I was like, "Look at my new puppy, you should come meet her sometime," and he was like, "Okay, I'd love to do that," but it, like, never went from there.
Materialized. Right.
Mhm.
Well, I guess you're scared to push him on it, and he's kind of
Yeah.
thinking like, well, I'm uncertain about how I feel
Oh, yeah,
yet.
he was pretty uncertain too.
So tell me exactly like when that uncertainty becomes certainty for him. Like, did you press the meetup with the puppy again? Was that like your big thing?
Um, no, I kinda reached a point where I was like, "I'm okay if I don't get him back." So I just kinda wanted to, like I came to, like, a fork in the road. I was like, "I, um, either want to move on or I want to ask him," because during the breakup, like, one of the last things he told me was, "Maybe I just need some time."
Okay.
So,
So it's kind
um
of like that, like you're constantly thinking about that statement, playing it in your head.
yeah.
Just I guess if you're in this state where you're like, I don't really care if I get him back or not, but I want to
Mhm.
try to see just so I don't
Yeah.
live with regrets. That's kind of
Mhm.
your mindset.
Yeah. So, like, it was either move on or, actually figure out if he actually meant that. So I made a bold move and I texted him because I think I had built up enough rapport at that point. Um, I texted him and I asked him like, "Hey, did you really mean that? Did you really just need some time?" And yeah, he responded and he was like, "Yeah, I really did mean that. And I think about you every day. I miss you." And, and that's when he suggested, like, "Hey, um, I still need to meet your new puppy. Why don't we meet up and see how things feel?"
Wow, it seems like such a mature sort of approach from a
Hmm.
breakup perspective. Hardly ever do you see that. I guess the one thing that fascinates me the most about your situation is you're perfectly in line with what I've seen a lot of the other success stories that I've interviewed uh mention, which is I got to this place emotionally where I just was like, you know what? If I don't get him back, I'm okay.
Hmm.
Did you feel looking back on your situation, and I know technically you guys are still you're like a couple of weeks, you just got to back together a couple of weeks ago, but with
Hmm.
whatever little perspective you have looking back on your entire experience, do you think getting to that place emotionally was the key for you?
Yeah, yeah, I think that helped, like, immensely.
Was there any other things that you look back on and say, this can you point to like just a few things other than that mentality that you felt like were so critical for you achieving this success?
I think working on my Trinity, like, was r really helpful, like, right up there with, like, being okay with, like, not getting him back.
Right. Um, was there anything else? Because obviously, like that no contact rule was a bit extended more than normal. Like usually like the average one's like 30 days. Obviously you had a particular circumstance when you went through the assessment that called for a longer period of no contact. Do you feel like that helped a lot? Because I mean, technically that's right in line with what he said, which is he needs more time. So that's giving him
Mhm.
more time technically, right?
Yeah. Mhm, definitely.
What so because we're kind of skipping a little bit. Let's go
Mhm,
back because you guaranteed this date with this puppy.
mhm.
And the date actually occurs. Was it like, did you have to go on multiple dates to get the commitment again? Or was it just like one thing and he was like, no, let's get back together?
Oh, yeah. So we did the first meetup, and, at the end of the first meetup, like, it went really well. We were talking, it wasn't awkward, it felt just like old times, and,
Did
um
you make a post in the Facebook group after that saying like, I haven't gotten him back yet, but
Mhm.
I feel like I'm about
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, he was kinda, like, dancing around the subject, but, um but yeah,
Because
I could definitely tell it was going to happen.
it was like a few weeks ago that you made this post, right? You were like,
Mhm.
okay, so what's funny is Anna and I were talking about you last week.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, to gossip because I think both of us saw the post and we were both just like, we can't count her as a success story yet. And actually, Anna's just texting me. She canceled on me. How dare she?
Oh,
No,
no.
no, no, that's all right. I've interviewed. I could use a break today, but
Mhm.
so yeah, this is probably fun for you. So, Lauren, I'm not even kidding you. Like, I can't. I think it was either last week or the week prior. You leave that post, and you're just like, yeah. Unless I'm mistaking you with someone else, you're kind of like, yeah. I've basically got him back, but there's been no commitment talk, right? And you always get the people chiming in on the Facebook group and everything. But Ann and I were talking about it like before we recorded our podcast episode a couple of weeks ago. We were just like, yeah, she's gonna get him back. Like it's gonna
Yes.
happen, and it did. So
That's awesome.
so we do talk about our clients sometimes. But yeah, anyway, sorry
Mhm,
to interrupt. Let's get to the fun stuff.
mhm. Yeah, so right at the end of the meetup, he was talking about, like, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna tell my dad now." Uh, um, so I was like, "Oh," so I
Oh,
was
wow, it's
thinking, like,
May
we're
now,
gonna
isn't it? Isn't that deadline happening this month?
um, no, it actually got,
What pushed?
extended.
Oh, that
Yeah, so
helps.
that definitely helped. Um, so um yeah, he was talking about, like, just dancing around it, but kinda, like, insinuating, like, "Yeah, I wanna get back together with you." Um, so, like, after the meetup, he was texting me, and he's like, "I don't know, where to start again, but, we'll get back to where we were." And he's like, "I promise that we'll get there," and, saying all these nice things, and, yeah, we had a second meetup, like, um, he called it a date. So, we went on a date, and,
Where'd you go on the date? Because that to me, that's what determines if it's a date or not, the location.
we actually, made dinner at his house, so
That's pretty romantic. Plus,
Mhm.
you're in his so you made dinner, and I'm assuming that's where he pops the question, weirdly enough, like the girlfriend question.
Um, I kind of I had to ask him, I was like, "So, are we official?"
What are we? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's all good, that's all
yeah.
good. That my very first girlfriend ever had to do the same thing with me. So,
Mhm.
I think it's kind of general knowledge for women that all men are cowards when it comes to these kind of questions. So
Uh-huh.
so you got him to say basically like, "Yeah, we're official."
Mhm. Yeah, like, just the way he was talking, he was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, this, and this. I wanna do this, and this. I want to go on this vacation. So I was like, oh, okay. So
Oh,
we're
that's the
back
perfect time
together.
to ask him too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
Mhm.
great. So you get him back, and how long ago was that exactly? Like a couple weeks ago?
I would say 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. So how's things been since then?
Really good. Yeah. Yeah. We've
And
been,
do you guys have like a plan with regards to the housing situation?
um, not quite yet, but we are talking about, getting an apartment together.
To me that sounds like a plan.
Mhm.
At least a small one, you know. No
Yeah.
pressure though.
Yep, baby steps.
So looking back on everything, what would you say if you could do it all over again? Any like mistakes that you made, what would you say were your mistakes?
Um, I, uh I did have a problem with cyber stalking.
Okay, so you spent a little too much like focusing on what he's posting on his Instagram stories or Snapchat or
Mhm.
Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are into TikTok. I'm still resistant towards the TikTok movement,
Oh,
but if it gets
yeah.
big enough, I'll learn it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So basically, like you had a really hard time not looking at what he's doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like when you got him back, did you kind of quiz him on what his experience was like during the breakup? Did he stalk you on social media? Was there anything interesting that you can tell anyone listening about like the man side of the breakup?
Um, he told me, like, about the breakup. He told me, like, "Yeah, I blew everything out of proportion when I broke up with you. I shouldn't have, broke up with you," and, stuff like that.
Well, I actually feel like you should be extremely proud of yourself because I think you handled the breakup really, really well. It could have went the exact opposite way because most women, I think, when they get broken up with and they don't want the breakup, they tend to do those anxious type
Yeah.
behaviors, you know? And it seems like even though I think you had some, you know, like the cyber stalking and things like that, you sort of
Mhm.
had enough emotional control to kind of
Yeah.
play poker so that he's not seeing like the weak moments, and it's
Mhm.
kind of makes you a little bit more intriguing in his eyes. So I think you should be incredibly proud of
Yeah.
yourself, and you you're as close to as textbook of a success story as I think I've ever interviewed. So
Mm.
you should give yourself a pat on the back. You did an
Mm.
amazing job, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any sort of other insights that you can give anyone listening here, who is going through a breakup and they're in the middle of a no contact rule, or they're struggling during the texting phase, or any kind of piece of advice that you would give them?
Um, I would say, really focus on working on your Trinity because, that's that's really what my boyfriend said, drew him back to me.
So you heard it here. Holy Trinity. Focus on that
Yeah.
Trinity. You're like the 50th person that has said that, and still
Oh, yeah.
people don't do it. I don't get,
I
like, the proof is in
know.
the pudding. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you for doing this, and yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.